Now let's take a quick look over your central New York weather today. We've got decreasing clouds with a high of 32. Tonight we've got a chance of snow showers turning into a winter storm watch with heavy snow with a low of 24.
Ithaca is a town where housing is a huge issue. You can't just evict people, period, but especially in the middle of winter when there's no housing available to anyone.
All evictions gotta go, hey, hey, ho, ho. All evictions gotta go, hey, hey, ho, ho. All evictions gotta go, hey, hey, ho, ho. All evictions gotta go.
So what is your name?
My name is David.
And why are you out here protesting today?
I'm out here, I'm a recent Ithaca transplant, and I just think with the moratorium ending now more than ever, it's important to show our community support for these people who are being evicted, especially in the middle of winter. It's violence, it's dangerous, and our community should not put up with it.
I am Veronica Pillar, and I am the Tompkins County Legislator for District 2. Housing discrimination still exists. Being non-renewed, not allowed to stay in their houses can be like retaliating for tenant organizing. It can be retaliating for wanting repairs. It can be straight up racism. That happens a lot. And I see a lot of like landlords and property management companies marketing to students specifically. Like there's plenty of houses that's marketed as like grad student housing, which is interesting because it's not like Cornell owns it, or if you literally have to be a grad student to live there. But they're clearly targeting a certain population.
One of my the students in my program introduced me to his housing place, and so I was lucky in the sense that I kind of relied on his experience and kind of found my housing there.
I mean, I've had majority of experience working for the colleges around here, and it seems like housing is an issue. I mean, we just did a fairly large project at one of the colleges around here that was 5-dorm addition, and I think they're already full. So it seems like it's a thing that's a priority for at least the schools, but it's going to always be a priority. Schools looking to grow always, so you always need more housing.
You kind of have to know people if you want to find a good deal. It's one of the most expensive cities to live in America. It's been a little easier for me to network my way into decent living situations with the rent is okay. Still not the best living situations ever, but better than the average for other people.
It's not unusual to see a studio in Boston go for over $3,000 a month. So I wouldn't say it's too crazy to say that it's a bit of a problem, but you know, I live 50 miles from the city just to afford to actually be able to have a house. So
my wife and I moved up here. We were renters in Washington, D.C. for over a decade. We dealt with very, very high rents, and I'll tell you, one of the first things we noticed about this community when we moved here was that the rents were significantly higher than we expected for the geography and the location of where we were. And so, you know, while it hasn't affected me on a personal level, that doesn't, I think, hinder my ability to empathize with the situation that folks are in when they are living in that precarity. And I think it's something that's been really exacerbated by the pandemic, because you have people who were experiencing a lot of insecurity about their economic situation, what the future of their workplace may be, whether they would be able to go back to work if they had been maybe furloughed or if they had had their hours cut. And all of that exacerbates the housing insecurity problem.
My name is Carlos Figueroa, and I'm an associate professor of politics and legal studies coordinator at Ithaca College. I've taught a course on race and class and geographies of housing. The housing issue in Ithaca is very dire. It's not just people of color, but proportionately people of color in Ithaca are in that range.
This is another reason I'm not a very big fan of single-family zoning, because it has in its roots, as I'm sure you know, this inherent tie to redlining and discrimination. And it is this sort of pernicious thing where these policies were in place, so it made it harder for people to get access to housing.
From my experience, it has seemed like we have a lot of development, and I think that development can be good. You know, instead of increasing the sprawl, going up could be a solution.
There's an issue with the shortage of units, affordable units, and Of course, the prices are extraordinary. The last set of developments were focused mostly on middle to upper end incomes, so that doesn't help most of the people who are longtime residents of the city or the town, nor students.
If you want an income property, that's good for you, man, but like you're pricing everyone else out of a city.
Less of that has actually gone to affordable housing as far as I've seen, but I'm not an expert on the subject.
We have these developments attracting investors and attracting people from the business class, but not enough for those who are trying to raise a family and stay here for longer time. The sentiment across the campus, when I ask students about this, they would love to stay and make a living and eventually raise a family. If we can think long term, I think I would include every single person who not only works and lives here, but studies in Ithaca.
I would argue that zoning reform is an integral piece of that, right? It's not an explicit tenant protection, but again, moving away from parking minimums, moving away from restrictive zoning helps us build more inclusive communities and frees up the ability for the stock of housing to provide more options for people and will slow the dramatic rate of increase that we often see in the rental market here and elsewhere in the country.
If we want to treat housing as human rights, everyone should be part of this conversation.
I think we care deeply about this, and it's really important to us to have a diversity of perspectives as we think about these issues and help make Ithaca a community that is, not just a great place to live, but an affordable place to live.